It takes leaders and groups successfully working together to create magic, to create success. Now, whether you look at society in general, or organizations, or educational institutions, or let's consider just the family as a unit, it takes everyone to come together and create success. Now, unfortunately, today there is a lot of leadership bashing. Books seem to be coming out about leadership, trainings to leadership, feedback is to leadership, finger pointing is to leadership. And maybe so. Why? Because when groups win, it is leaders who get glorified. So, also when the flag happens, a lot of it tends to go to them. However, we need to start correcting some of this trend, and essentially why? Because if we look at things historically, let's say 30, 40, 50 years back, there were a bunch of people, in some senses, who were a little bit more endowed with knowledge, training, exposure, their education at elite institutes or good technical education, who were working with a set of masses who possibly did not have that exposure, and they did not have the wherewithal to think deep and understand. Well, at that time, if the leader was expected to bring the majority of the novel focus, the vision, the understanding, and the wherewithal of doing things, it was an acceptable truth. But cut to where we are today, and especially in the last 20 years, with the rise of access to quality education, various kinds of training, deep embedded systems in organizations, in general, in society, awareness levels going up high, and the advent of social media and access to things, everything from the Wikipedias of the world to learning apps to courses, this may not be true anymore. In fact, what we need to look at is that today, a lot of groups' failures, if you go deep into it, is actually not leadership failures. It often is the group's failure, the collective failure of everybody who came together and did what they did. And in that scene and in that scenario, the leader cannot be bashed anymore, because what we need to understand is that we are living in times where everyone seems to know everything, everyone seems to have an opinion, and in that space, when there is a huge conundrum of ambition and everybody is trying to get ahead, and there is a huge cacophony of opinions where everybody wants to have a say in everything, the leader's voice may be actually getting lost in the voice and the noise and the challenges of the masses. That's where, whether it's a running of a nation or running of the society or running of an organization or in the family itself, each one of us needs to understand and do our role really well. In fact, many of us today need to learn not to be leaders, but to be great followers, great citizens of the groups that we belong to. Otherwise, all the bashing will keep going to the leaders and nothing will change, because it's the masses really that are failing today. In fact, today what you will see is there may be a few leaders who are like the bad heads which are wagging the tail, but in most cases where things are failing, it's the bad masses, the bad tails, which are snapping the good heads sitting up there. And no matter how much vision and prowess the leaders are bringing, those masses are pulling people down because of their vested bad behaviors. Now, why do masses matter? Whether it's the citizens of an organization or any other institution, or the citizens of the government, or the citizens of a family or social structure, citizens matter because the polity, the multiplicity of people, when you put groups and you have subgroups, their history matters, their preoccupation matters, and that history and preoccupation is the premise from which all of them are acting. So, most likely, they're not even listening to the leader. They are just focused on their own voices, their own noises, their own biases, and those biases are breaking the system down. In many cases, not even allowing a system to emerge, and the group fails. The cohesion of citizens, the camaraderie of citizens matter. No matter how much leaders at the top give slogans and visions and try to bring people together, whether it's through organizational training, or it's through societal voices, or it's through inspirational acts. The group's cohesion is the responsibility of the group's citizens. And when they come loaded with their history and preoccupation, many times cohesion is not their priority. They compete within the group. Instead of competing outside, they're competing inside. Camaraderie is not what they're focused on. They're trying to do dog eats dog sort of a scenario, and not trying to win against bigger challenges, or even subscribe to a larger than themselves cause. Many people are forgetting today in groups and masses that the whole will only be greater than the sum of the parts when the parts come together and add up. At least we forget this. We are not allowing the addition of the parts for the whole to become better. So whatever system we are a part of, whether it's the family, whether it's the organization, or it's the nation, they are suffering because that cohesion and the camaraderie is totally missing. And the last and very important thing is that you may forget your history and preoccupation and come together. You may be cohesive, you may be having a sense of camaraderie, but when it comes to action, when it comes to the causes that we belong, which means whether it's the nation, or the sustainability and the profitability of the organization, or the well-being of society, or well-being of the family, our collective actions and closures matter. If those collective actions are not in sync, and if everybody is not doing their part, and if everybody is not bringing things to the logical closure, the right results according to the vision, then again it's going to be a very big problem. In fact, that is where lies the biggest problem of all of these things. So I will say again that it takes, for success, it takes leaders and their groups to work together. But in our times, it's the groups and masses which are creating majority of the failures. So we have to ask this question: are we playing our part? Are we doing what we really need to do? And to get there, and to be the ideal follower, or to be the ideal citizen of any group, what do we need to do? These are very clear steps that we need to follow. And the first and the most important is we need to ourselves heal and learn. And many of us in our life have big voids. And here I'm not just talking about people who have suffered some trauma or challenges. Even if you have had a smooth life, there are parts of you which are really not exposed to what you really need to become, whether it's value orientation, or it's being experts at things, or it is deep understanding of human beings, society, how things work. All of us have significant amount of change, which is healing and learning to do, so that we can be at our best. We are so distracted today by media and whatever we are consuming that we are really living shallow lives. And those shallow lives are not allowing us to be our best. So learn and heal, start becoming better every single day. And then the second point is to bring that better self every single day to the play, whatever your role is, whether you are acting as a citizen of the country, or of the organization, or in the family, or in the society. Bring your best to play. Don't act like garbage trucks going around and putting all your garbage everywhere. Stand for good quality results, good quality thoughts, good quality emotions, good quality actions. Bring things to closure. In fact, every one of us needs to compete with our own self, and that's about it. Not competing with anything or anyone. If you simply compete with yourself in every single role that you play in life, you will work towards excellence every single day. 365 days of excellence's pursuit takes you so much far and further than beyond. You do that year on year. The best self that you're becoming is also contributing much better. And as that self contributes, as you continue to compete with your own self and never compete with anybody outside, what you need to do is you need to work with others. Remember that Together we stand, divided we fall. And in a world today which is far more divisive than decisive, most of us need to play a big part in working together with the people in our family, in our societies, in our organization, in our countries, so that we can make the system win, whichever system we are a part of. We don't have quality conversations, we don't figure out quality solutions to problems. There is majority of us who's whining, complaining, comparing, judging. That's what we are doing with others instead of working together with others. So as you heal and learn, as you start contributing and competing with self, work with others to make the system win. And that brings us to the fourth pillar, which is a very big responsibility of each of us today. Cut out the noise, your noise and the noise of others. Just because you have something to say, it may not be worth saying. There may not be any real value or contribution that you're making to anyone by saying what you're saying. Similarly, there are so many voices and noises around you. You have to learn to filter only that which creates value, only that which unites us. Anything that is divisive, anything that is regressive should be rejected. Think about it. And that's why the narratives of nationalism, the narratives of organizational citizenship, the narratives of traditional clean societies, the narratives of good, pure, traditional families are so important. Because if we don't stick to those narratives, we will only create fights amongst ourselves. And today there are so many options, and people are following those, breaking nations, breaking organizations, breaking society, breaking families, and it needs to stop. The only solution to that is cutting the noise out and filtering out anything that is useless and taking things which have value in it. And that then brings us to the fifth pillar, which is every single follower must also prepare to lead, because you never know when you might become the next leader of something, whether it's your family or the organization or society or the nation. You might get called upon to play a part. And when that happens, you won't have time to sit and learn before you react. So while you are on your journey of being a follower, ensure that you learn and become a better leader in your own right, ready to act when your turn comes, not out of turn, not trying to push the current leaders away so that you can get leadership position. Wait for your turn so that you mature deeply, and when you get your role, you do things better than you have ever done, better than any of the previous leaders. So all in all, I will again say this, that it takes the leader and the groups to create magic. And in the kind of society that we are living in, please do not be the individual in the groups or masses which is creating the larger failures. Be your best, play your part, work with others, compete with yourself, cut out the noises, and ensure that you're contributing and ready to lead when your time comes.